tailor the fare. Three-piece fit, man, the world just stares. Pen game cold, wrote books, spit bars. TV face glowing, yeah, I'm built for the stars. From Houston to Hollywood, style stay major. Headlines popping, Gilmore on the paper. I don't chase fame, I craft the creator. The boat stays afloat, no imitator. B-O-A-T, what's my name? B-O-A-T, say it again. B-O-A-T, best of all time. Yeah, you're dealing with the boat boy, step in line. Author, rapper, host and an actor. Every suit tailor-made, no slacker. Gold on the wrist, mic in my hand. When the lights hit the ring, they all understand. I'm the talk show king, the city's own voice. Every lane I touch, man, that's my choice. From TV screens to the ESPN call, the boat got the swagger that defines it all. From the dome to the stage, man, I live my quotes. They don't make them like me, this the realest that floats. You could try to compare, but you're way too small. Cause the boat ride high, unsinkable, y'all. B-O-A-T, say it loud. B-O-A-T, say it proud. The suits pressed clean, the crown stay gleam. Brad Gilmore, the boat, living out the dream.
What have you done now?
Well, I love you dearly.
Love you too. Well, she is joining me right now to talk about WrestleMania 42 returning to Las Vegas. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. She is one of the most recognizable faces in all of the WWE. The WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, joins us. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the time. Let's dive right into WrestleMania because I was there, WrestleMania 41. I got to see you and Charlotte tear the house down and have this incredible entrance that you did and successfully go out there and prove to the world why you are where you are. How does that stage actually feel? Does it feel like the next level? Does it feel bigger than life itself?
Oh yeah. I felt like that whole weekend I was so nervous. I've never been in front of a crowd over than I think 80K. So I believe there was around like 100K there. So that was just so nervous and nerve-wracking in itself. But I checked off a goal that weekend. I wrestled Charlotte Flair on the grandest stage of them all, and it was in Las Vegas. I felt like that was the perfect first ever WrestleMania. It was the perfect spot to hold a WrestleMania, and I'm super excited to go back.
You're going back again, and I think that you're right. Las Vegas, that whole week felt like something special was going on. I mean, it was the biggest WrestleMania I'd ever personally attended, and your entrance was one of the best entrances, I think, in WrestleMania history. I'll be honest with you. It was such an awesome idea and concept. Have you started thinking about what your Mania 42 entrance would be?
I have not thought about that, but I don't think there's any way I can top that entrance. That was something that I kind of had been dreaming about since even before like I got into WWE. I had pitched the idea back in NXT, but they kind of told me like, oh, we don't know because of trademarking and stuff like that. And then I think Mattel had reached out to Triple H and had proposed the idea, and Triple H asked me if I was down for that. And of course I said yes. And I don't think it would have been possible without Triple H and Mattel. And I'm so grateful it came to life, and I felt like it was better than what I was even expecting it to look like. So hopefully I can top that one day.
Yeah, it was so impressive. The production of it, everything was executed amazingly in that entrance. You talk about being at NXT in Orlando and working with Triple H down there, obviously Shawn Michaels. You went back to NXT recently. You were on television. What did it feel like to be back at the Performance Center after, touring the world, being at WrestleMania? Did it feel like a high school reunion, or what was the vibe there for you?
I think high school reunion would be the perfect way to describe that. It was so fun being back at NXT, getting to see Shawn, getting to see some of the people that I trained with and that I got signed with and stuff like that. And NXT is like kind of like my home. It's where I learned wrestling. It's where I learned, everything that I know now. So to go back and be able to be in front of that crowd and have them accept me and stuff like that, it was surreal, and it was just it was a good day. And then unfortunately I didn't get to wrestle the following week, but it was a fun little promo and time that I got to go back to NXT.
We being at NXT, obviously one of the lead voices there, Booker T. I've worked with Booker now for 12 years or so, and he's such a dynamic character. But when he was the king of SmackDown and he was the world champion, he was talking about how being the world champion, there's so much responsibility that comes with it, not just in the ring and working at that level, but the promo. You're in the first segment, you're in the middle segment, you're doing the on sales, the press tours like you are now. How does it feel to actually have to shoulder all of that responsibility?
So I fully expected that you have to be a very well-rounded superstar in order to hold the title one day. You're basically the face of the company. You've got to do the media tours, like you said. You've got to do the morning shows. You've got to do the backstages, the in-ring promos, the matches and stuff like that. So I fully expected all the responsibility going into this, and I'm super grateful to be where I'm at, especially being kind of new to wrestling and kind of new to my, main roster career. So I'm blessed to be here, and I'm loving every part of it.
Well, obviously this week you're going to have a big match on SmackDown coming off of WrestlePalooza, going into this big SmackDown triple threat. Jade Cargill and you, I love the matchup between y'all. I mean, what you did at SummerSlam and then continuing the feud, both incredible athletes in different aspects. Of course, how is it to work with Jade?
Obviously, you look at Jade and you immediately think like, whoa, who is this girl? She looks amazing. She's beautiful. And I actually really have enjoyed our last two matches. I thought our last match that we had, I'm really proud of that. I thought that match was super amazing. Obviously, it ended in a DQ, but this Friday, it's me, Nia Jax, and Jade all in the ring. I've beaten all of them individually. So I'm excited to see kind of how we all match up together in one ring. And I'm going into this confident because, like I said, I've already beat both of them one-on-one. So I have no doubt that I'm going to pull out the win.
All right, my last question for you. WrestleMania 42, of course, coming to Las Vegas. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. A lot of people you could potentially match up with at WrestleMania this year. One I would like to see, I'd like to see a Tiffany Stratton and Nikki Bella feud. How would you think about Tiffany versus Nikki?
Ooh, I would absolutely love that. I think that would be iconic. It'd be like a generation versus generation match. So yeah, let's manifest that. Nikki Bella, if you're listening, me versus you at WrestleMania 42.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tiffany, congratulations on all your success. Really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Brad Gilmore with ESPN and the CW. Christy, Sydney, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on this film.
Oh,
thank you
for having us.
Brad. Let me start by saying, what an amazing movie. I just finished watching it, and I'm blown away completely by it. And Christy, if I could start with you, obviously your career in boxing is incredible, but I think that your career in resilience is almost more inspiring of what you've been able to do with your life. Just so amazing. So thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. God has blessed me. And, I made a deal with God from my hospital bed. If you'll let me live through this attack, I will help at least one person before I die. And then, as you know, being the boxer that I am, the arrogant me kicked in and said, no, I want to help one person every day. And that's what this movie's going to do.
I 100% agree with you. And you know what? You have you're in a very interesting position because you're one of the few people who've gotten to look at their life as a participant, but now also as an audience member, seeing this movie. How has it been like to actually have to view your own life from a different perspective?
It's a little overwhelming. As I say, I'm a coal miner's daughter from a very small town in southern West Virginia. And here we are, we have the it girl, Sydney Sweeney, portraying me and kicking butt. I mean, literally in the movie, kicking butt, knocking people out and having a great time, smack talking. It was great. It was a roller coaster. Obviously, in the movie, we have the highs, we have the lows, the tough conversations, but then we end on a very high note, a very positive
note. And Sydney, I have a feeling that obviously when you portray someone like Christy, and you did so amazingly, and you should be so proud of the performance that you put on because it was excellent. But when you do that, I have a feeling that you carry Christy now with you throughout the rest of your endeavors. What are some qualities of the woman that's sitting to your right that you hope to carry forward into the future?
I mean, everything. Christy has inspired me since day one. I say that I've taken a little bit of Christy's strength with me. I'm Christy Strong now. I've learned to stand up for myself more, and I want to have her by my side forever. She's incredible.
She's like the guardian angel now, right? Or your
Yeah.
confidant, your consigliere. Run all
Yes.
decisions.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like mama. I send her text messages like, no, this doesn't work. I can't say that about you.
She's gonna fight a few fights for me.
Yes,
so.
yes. Putting
Great
everybody
to
on notice.
I'm sure it's great to have. And Ben, obviously a phenomenal job in the film. I found that in some of your line deliveries set this like sadistic silence at the end and sometimes in between some of the lines that you would say. What was your methodology in this portrayal of Jim?
Uh, these are tough questions. So you just try to be in service of the complications of a 20-year relationship. Christy is a as I say, she's a comet, and you have to go through the fire to be a comet. So those silences, they're not unfamiliar in terms of these kind of relationships, which are happening every day all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there was a part in the film, Sydney, and I would like for y'all to all expand upon it, where you're discussing, it was after the attack, and you're discussing kind of the chaos outside the ring, and you prefer being inside the ring because it's almost the part that you can control, inside the quietness of the fights. Do you actually kind of also, I don't know, see that in your performances as well? Like all the mess that's going on in the world, but when they roll action and you're on set, you feel almost in control of the chaos?
I mean, it's what I love to do. So I come to life in a complete different sense, and I have such a great time doing it. I'm surrounded by usually incredible crews and cast that become my family, my friends, and we all get to play pretend and build worlds, and it's a job that it's not like a 9 to 5. I mean, I'm working from 4 a.m. until like 10 p.m. and you're with the same people every day. So I do. It's what I love, and I'm happy there. But I will
Obviously.
say, I did come to life in the real ring too. I loved it so much. I was like, maybe this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
Maybe this is my sole purpose. Well, maybe we'll see it. But Christy, Sydney, and Ben, thank you so much for telling the story, for bringing it to the world. I hope that everybody goes and sees this and is inspired by it, as inspired by it as I was. So I really do appreciate y'all's time.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one, guys. Bye. Yeah, Brad Gilmore, CW Houston Press and ESPN. Tracee, Juliana, thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats on the film, guys.
Thank you. I'm like,
Brad.
is it a sporty film? Talk to us, please.
It's everything. Do you know what
Life
I
is a
mean?
game, and
Life
so
is
are
a game.
sports.
And you know what? You know what the biggest game is?
What's that?
Love.
Oh,
Love's the biggest game of all.
you know what? That's why they use it in tennis, right? Like that's how you score in tennis. If you have nothing,
Yeah.
you have love. That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great reference. I
That's
really like
beautiful.
what you did there, Brad.
Yeah, well, you set it up for me and I volleyed it back to you. But like
Yeah.
Tracee,
Oh, way to keep that sports
and it
way to keep that
continues.
tennis reference going.
you really are the Serena Williams of film. So Tracee, if if I may.
Yes, you
Uh,
may. You may.
I love this film. Obviously, I'd seen the original that Ed did way back in the day. But when I talked to Ed earlier, and this question I'm going to pose to both of you, but Tracee, if we can start with you. He seems like an actor's director, if you know what I mean. Like very collaborative, open to it. Doesn't have to be exactly like it is on the page. Let's play with it. Let's figure out what makes the scene work the best.
Yeah, he's an actor's director. He's a collaborative director. He runs a tight ship, but a creative and fun ship, which is kind of ideal. I think he has a lot of trust in actors and our ability to kind of play because he is one. And I think that's how he creates that delicious thing that we, fell in love with in Brothers McMullen, and I think is really here in Family McMullen. He's a fun treat to work with and for.
I could see that, Juliana. You're nodding there. You agree with Tracee's assessment there on OLED?
Yeah, he's just like, there is no man I know personally who I think comes close to him as just a natural leader. He's like the captain you want. He's so warm and sunshiny, and as Tracee said, so much fun. And I think when you lead a set with that kind of positivity, everybody just wants to A, work hard, and B, have a good time doing it. It's just, he creates this very lovely, festive atmosphere. And maybe that had to do with, the sort of themes of the movie.
But you know what, Juliana, if you think about it, the other thing is he's no fuss. There's
No
no
fuss.
There's no fuss to Ed. He doesn't.
There's no fuss.
He's not like going to disappear to a trailer for hours to go and like get himself zhuzhed up. He's like busy directing, and then all of a sudden he's in a corner changing his shirt to be
Yep.
on camera. Like he's
Yeah.
just no fuss.
No fuss. And like when he gives notes, they're just direct, simple, 4 words, and you know everything you need to know. It's not
Give me an
this
example.
whole-
What's an example of that?
Here would be mine. Try it. Should we try it again?
That's a good one. Or I would get say something different if you want this time.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Yeah.
just like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, and he even said, like, when he was writing Brothers, he's like, I don't know. I know how, like, me and my friends speak to one another, but I might not know, like, how a woman would phrase this or how a younger person now in Family McMullen would phrase this. And he, like, leaves it up to, like, let's figure it out together, which I just think is, like, that's what you would want, right? I mean, like, obviously you want to stick to what's on the page, but if you feel like you can elevate the material or bring more truth to the scene, that's what you should do.
Yeah, I think particularly in a film like this, where it really is about the glue and the connection between everybody, I think it allows that glue and connection to authentically emerge as opposed to trying to manipulate it with a concept that someone has or a director or writer has in their head. And he really gave space and kind of created fertile ground for us to play in that way. And then as you said, like he's that captain you want. You're just like, yeah, that's fun. Let's try it.
Yeah.
Juliana, were you before you did this one, did you go back and revisit Brothers and get in on it or no?
I didn't. I watched
Okay,
it when I
cool.
was young. I grew up watching rom-coms and sort of, I feel like that was the reigning genre of the 90s.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, I think, Ed is such a different person now, I think, by his own admission, than he was when he made that movie. And I really wanted to just get there and feel like I could, instead of trying to approximate or differentiate myself from what I felt in that movie, just approach the script and the other wonderful actors as they were. But I watched it after we wrapped, just as a little treat. Rewatched it. But yeah, it was just I think the story is so lovely and cozy and funny. And I know Ed and I've known him for a while, and I just felt like everything I needed was already there in that script. And then the only other things I needed were the wonderful Tracee and the wonderful Pico and all of the other actors who were involved.
Well, that just sounds like a lovely way to approach it. But Tracee, because Brothers was such a huge film, like at the
Let
time in the
me
90s.
tell you something, Brad.
Go for it.
I went to the theater.
Theater.
I went to the Angelica and I
Wow.
saw Brothers McMullen, and I was in awe. I loved that movie so much. I was in love with Ed.
Yeah.
And I truly was like, I'm like, I'm going to find an Ed Burns. That's who I'm going to marry, an Ed Burns. And then all these years later, and I was like, are you serious? Is this like my 20-year-old's dream of like, I actually am getting to be the love interest of Ed Burns? Yes, it's on screen, but this will do. And so I did not watch it again before we shot, because honestly, it remains in my consciousness because it was an important film that I saw. It was the first time I saw an independent film. And I remember thinking, oh, there's different kinds of ways that you can make a film. And there was something about Brothers McMullen that captured the experience that I was having in life.
Mm.
And although obviously, I'm not an Irish McMullen, it's a little bit different experience, but the essence of falling in love and family dynamics was so present for me. And so I held that as we walked into this. And when I read the script, The thing I kept thinking is, my God, this is so charming. I will tell you also the thought I had when they said they want you for Family McMullen, the new Brothers McMullen. I was like, and how do I fit in? I was like, are there new family members? I was like, I don't get it. And then they said love interest. And of course, I was like, well, I mean, I don't even have to read it. It's a yes for me. How many scenes do I have? But I thought it was so beautifully sort of brought together all the pieces. And I love the 3-generation aspect of it. Is really special.
Well, you know what? I loved the movie. I loved the conversation that we got to have today. And to keep up with my tennis analogy, you both served in the movie. I guess y'all served. And dad jokes aside, I appreciate it.
I mean, bye. Thank you.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks so much.
Nice to meet you. Thank you, guys.
Memorial Day takeover is upon us. You're going to get Saturday night's main event. You're going to get Battleground, Monday Night Raw, and NXT on Tuesday, all in Tampa, Florida. And here to join us right now, he's one of the GOATs. Everybody knows it. He's on the Mount Rushmore of everybody's professional wrestling list. A Texas legend, Mr. WrestleMania himself, and Mr. NXT, Shawn Michaels. Shawn, good morning to you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Brad, and I appreciate the absolutely phenomenal introduction.
Well, it's true. It's all true. It's all true.
I'm flattered.
Well, you know what? We're talking about everything that's going to be going on in Tampa, Florida, but I'm so excited about NXT lately. NXT has been on fire, quite literally, coming off a Stand and Deliver in Las Vegas. You were at MSG earlier this year, and now going into this weekend for Battleground and then NXT on Tuesday. Y'all are firing on all cylinders. You have to feel that in the building.
Absolutely. And again, it's been just a phenomenal time in NXT, and the excitement, and the energy is palpable. I think everybody finally sees NXT for what it is. It's just the purest, the best, the most exciting aspect of all professional wrestling. At the very beginning, when you're giving your all, you're passionate, you're hungry. All you want to do is make it in the WWE. All you want to do is eventually become a Raw and SmackDown superstar, and you give every ounce of your being out there when you perform every night of the week. And so NXT right now has been enjoying just incredible momentum. So much of that is has to do with the incredible partnership that we have with CW, but also just the young men and women that come through our doors. They are so hungry, they're so passionate. They're all focused on making this life their dream and their job for the rest of their life. And so they come in here with nothing but great intentions, and we're looking forward to Battleground Memorial Weekend so they can go out there and show the world what it is they do and why they should be the Raw and SmackDown superstars of tomorrow.
And they absolutely will be. And what's great about NXT is that I've been to a couple shows at the Performance Center in Orlando and seen it up close and personal. And the crowd really is the sixth man there on those NXT shows. They are as part of the show as some of the performers are themselves, some of the wrestlers are themselves. But I would imagine for you as kind of the quarterback or the coach for NXT, getting the talent on the road and working in front of different audiences, knowing what it's like to be in front of a New York audience or a Las Vegas audience, or in this case, a Tampa audience, really helps them further, hone in their craft and figure out how to make reactions happen in different parts of the country.
Sure, absolutely. Well, again, as you know, we are based here in Orlando. And as you said, look, when we get an opportunity to get out on the road, first of all, they're just over the top excited about the opportunity to be able to do that. But it also, to the point that you made, it is so important to their development in what it is they're doing. And so as we have the opportunity to get out on the road, even if it's down the road in Tampa, it is just a phenomenal experience for our young talent. Obviously, we do our best to try to harness that, they're all like wild stallions, and we do our best to harness it. And every now and then they can keep a lid on it when they're in Orlando. But anytime they get out on the road, they're ready to cut loose in that ring and just excite that audience to no end. And so in Tampa at Battleground Memorial Weekend, it is going to be a big, big night and an incredibly exciting show because our talent are ready to go.
Again, Saturday night's main event, Battleground, Monday Night Raw, and NXT all taking place from Tampa. And one of the great things I think, too, for the talent at NXT recently is the working relationships you have with other promotions and especially TNA, having, people like Fatal Attraction going over to TNA and getting some reps in, having the Hardy Boys work Fraxium and MSG. You hone that craft more. You get better when you're working people who are, maybe more experienced and have that veteran presence for you. As somebody who's running NXT, that had to be a really refreshing thing to have the partnership with TNA and other companies.
Absolutely. Well, again, as you stated, again, when you're in the ring with people better than you, you're going to improve. You're going to get better. You're going to learn things that you didn't know before. And so that's one of the things that this TNA, collaboration has given us. And also, again, the partnership with Noah, again, having, our talent be able to go over to Japan and learn that style, a different style, and have some of their superstars, come over and be a part of our show. Inamura has just been a huge asset, again, to the WWE roster. The people love him, and we love him. And so, again, all of these partnerships and collaborations that we've been able to have has done just exactly what you were talking about, has helped our talent improve, and it has also, again, made NXT the must-see show on WWE programming.
What you've always been referred to as Mr. WrestleMania. In a lot of ways, you're Mr. SummerSlam. Sometimes you're even Mr. Royal Rumble. You've kind of done the gambit on all of those, in my opinion. But there's so much great talent in NXT right now on the men's side and the women's side. Who would you highlight if you had to pick one right now? And I know you could pick any of them, but who would you highlight as Mr. and Mrs. NXT in these last couple months?
Well, in the last couple months, I think it'd have to be Stephanie Vaquer from the women's side, our NXT women's champion. She has just taken, again, the entire world by storm. I think she's somebody that was already had an international name, but I think once she got on to, NXT programming, the entire world, the entire globe, and her popularity has just skyrocketed. And look, I think it's a toss-up on our men's side. I think they probably, argue about it, but I think Trick Williams and Obafemi are two guys with, again, Trick has unlimited charisma, but Oba also has a mystique and an aura about him. They're two very different individuals, but they're both guys that are easily, superstars that people see are going to be, Raw and SmackDown superstars in the very near future, I'm sure.
Obafemi has a presence and an authenticity about him where you can really see him main eventing WrestleMania one day. Same with Trick and Stephanie Vaquer. Here's my final question for you, Shawn. Again, WWE's Memorial Day TakeOver, Saturday night's main event, Battleground, Monday Night Raw, and NXT all going down in Tampa. This is really one for me because it's a personal question. I've gotten to work with the great Booker T for 13 years down here at Reality of Wrestling in Houston. I think that the team of him, Vic, and Corey Graves is the most entertaining and helpful commentary team out in all of professional wrestling right now. Booker with his with Stephanie Vaquer, Vic's quick one-liners, and Corey Graves' expert acumen when it comes to his analyst role. They're so good. They got to make the show entertaining and fun for you just listening on headset, because that's what it is for us as an audience.
For sure. Absolutely. Look, and I will, again, just from a personal, I guess, standpoint, it has been phenomenal for me to get to, again, to strengthen and have a much better and bigger relationship with Booker, having, gotten to know him so much better since working with him here in NXT, and to understand that his passion and his desire to help all of these young men and women, get better and improve. Obviously you guys do it there in Houston at Reality of Wrestling, but I mean, Booker just brings that passion over here to NXT and shares it with our talent week in and week out. And when it comes to a commentating team, that's one of the things I love about NXT. We're all one big family. We obviously all, communicate a lot. We have a lot of collaboration between each and every one of us. And I think, again, Corey was a huge addition to that team. And I think they've really found their footing now. And as you say, at the very, very least, it is going to be incredibly entertaining every time you tune in on Tuesday nights on the CW.
Tuesday nights on the CW. You got a huge weekend ahead of you in Tampa. Shawn Michaels, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Really great talking to you.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much for helping us out.
Ask away.
All right, well, here we go. You know, they're returning on the road to celebrate 45th anniversary of the band and the 20th anniversary of their groundbreaking Carnival of Sins tour, and they're coming to the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion right here in Houston, Texas next year. And I have one of them with me right now, the iconic bassist of the iconic band Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx, joins us. Nikki, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what's happening, man? Good to see you.
You as well. Look, congratulations, man, on this tour. And I love that you're coming to Houston. I think that, you know, Motley Crue, for everything that y'all have gone through and everything that y'all have done musically, to still be going at a high level and touring the country just has to be the biggest gift of all.
You know, you don't pay attention, and then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, we've been together 10 years. And we did an album, Decade of Decadence. And then next thing you know, it was like the 20-year anniversary. And you're like, what? Like, how's this happening? It just like keeps, and now it's like 45th anniversary. And you get there by just, it's like walking. Like, you don't like go, well, I'm going to go for a 10-mile walk. And you think every step about the inn. You just kind of just do it, you know, and we write songs, you know, we will go and demo them up. And if we like them enough, we might record them. It's a different time too, because we don't necessarily believe that making full-length records is the best thing for fans. And it's not necessarily the best thing overall for everybody, whether it's a record company or anything. You're going to get, back in the day, like with MTV on Girls, Girls, Girls album, you get like Wild Side pounded on rotation and then Girls, 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 and you're out touring and you had a whole album to support. But nowadays, you know, people are only going to hear those 2 songs. They're not going to hear the other 9 or 10 songs. So what we kind of do is like, wow, this is an amazing song. Let's go record it. Oh, let's release it. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's like, we're not feverishly needing to tour for months and months and months on end. So we find opportunities to do cool stuff with box sets, re-releases, anniversaries, the return of Carnival of Sins, one of our biggest and funnest shows that we did. So it's just like, stay creative, man. Stay creative and make sure the fans are getting really what they want.
Well, and I know every time the Crew comes out, y'all are going to give the people what they want. You know, it's what's so interesting too about Motley Crue is y'all become so generational. The music is embedded into the culture, right? To where there's 15-year-olds who know all the Motley Crue records. I was talking to Phil and Joe from Def Leppard, and they were saying the same thing. It's like, now I'm seeing the grandfather, the father, and the son all at the shows, and they're all responding to the same records.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom when you started that would ever happen. You know, it's just hard to fathom. I mean, when we opened for the Rolling Stones for a few shows, and that was the first time, this was a long time ago, this is the first time I saw that multi-generational thing. And I was just like, wow, you know, there's the grandfather, the dad, the son, or the daughter. So we're kind of in that world, you know, and Aerosmith and Def Leppard and Guns N' Roses. And who thought, you know, who thought? It's crazy. It's a lot to be grateful for, man.
It sure is. It sure is. I want to ask you this because I'm so fascinated. You said by staying creative. And I think now making records in some ways is easier than it's ever been, right? Because you have all these different tools at your disposal when you want to now record.
Sure.
You know, going from analog to digital to Pro Tools. And now they even have AI music generation, which I would be curious to know your thoughts on. But now what is the process? Do you like sometimes will just record something straight into your computer, send it to Tommy or send it to whomever? Or what's your musical writing process now and how is it different?
I have my voice memos on here and there are thousands of ideas. I might just be sitting here at 7 o'clock in the morning having a cup of coffee and I'm like, oh, I got to record that. And then I usually don't pay attention to them because we're not like on a timeline where you have a record company going, okay, we gotta get that record made. And you're like, okay, I gotta come up with like that magic song. And so then I go back and I heard something that I wrote a couple of years ago, just sitting in the kitchen. And my wife walked by and is like, wow, if that's an amazing song. And it was just letting it come out. Now, Tommy has like the full blown studio. I don't really, that's not for me. I've had, studios and stuff. I like to just personally write a song or then get together with another songwriter and write it and then kind of rehearse it up. And then you get to the recording process. Some of my friends, they build in their beats and their sounds, and there's a lot of them don't even have to play guitar. You can play guitar on a keyboard and it sounds
Right.
just like, sounds just like, Eddie Van Halen, and I, for some reason that just doesn't work for me. As a creative person, it seems to be I'm locked in a box.
Yeah.
But I look back to even like way back, and I always had a cassette deck, and I've stacks of cassettes with little ideas, like little ideas. And you're like, oh, that turned into City Boy Blues, which was on Theater of Pain album. Like, that's how my process works.
Oh man. Now let me ask you this. The records that the crowd's gonna love when you go out there, especially with somebody with a catalog like Motley Crue does. The records that people are gonna wait for. You hear it say stuff like "Girls, Girls, Girls" or whatever the case may be. But what's the record that you have the most fun playing? Because it can sometimes differ from the audience's favorite record.
You mean songs?
Yeah.
No, because
not full album. Yeah, song.
Yeah. We did go out and we did the Dr. Feelgood album from top to bottom. And that was an interesting experience because albums are made to be listened to, especially back then, listened to in its entirety. So all of a sudden, like the last song on the album is a ballad, and that's the last song of the set. Like you're like, wow, that's like a different kind of experience. We wanted to play them in order. I enjoy, all these songs. They're all like, my kids to me in one way or another.
Sure.
Lyrically, they, as the main lyricist in the band, I have a lot of responsibility, and I like to just sometimes talk about subjects that are not the same as what you would think, every rock band. Like the song Primal Scream came about because I was reading a book called Primal Scream Therapy by a guy, Arthur Janoff, I found out about it because that was what John Lennon was reading and was doing Primal Scream Therapy. And that ended up being a song. And I was able to write about my mom and my dad and, this stuff. And then how you deal with disappointment is sometimes just screaming and shouting. And so when you put that all together, messaging wise to the listener and to the band, it's personal, but it's simplified with scream and shout. And that song to play live is so exciting, so exciting. And there are probably people that don't know the song. There's going to be people that they don't know every single song and can see the energy in the crowd. They can see it shifting. So you can actually turn people on to new music live too.
That's amazing. Well, I cannot wait to see Motley Crue right here in Houston. 45 years. Can't believe it's happening, but I'll be there and I can't wait to see it. Nikki, thank you so much, man, for joining us this morning. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, man. Be good.
Have a good one, man. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Well, we are talking about not just anything on the menu. We're talking about everything on the menu with a man who's main evented WrestleMania, won world titles, and entertained audiences the worldwide. And now he brings his talents to the new show. His name is Braun Strowman. Braun, how you doing, sir?
Doing excellent. I'm doing excellent, man. You just put me over better than I think half the ring announcers ever did in my WWE career.
Well, you know what? They have their job. I have mine, and you have yours. And man, congrats on the show. I know this is something that I think is a natural fit for you. It makes so much sense to do. Did you enjoy doing this? This seemed like such fun.
enjoy is an understatement. So, I mean, for me, my day-to-day life and eating is not very strict, but pretty strict. A lot of times, depending on what I'm doing, but when I'm really geared in, I'm weighing everything out to the gram. I'm eating the same thing 6-7 times a day. And especially that time of the year when we're filming this, we got this all filmed around before WrestleMania and stuff like that. So it's Mania season, so we're always trying to be shredded down for that. So trying to balance that out. And then when I was with WWE then, we were in Europe for TV. So I was flying to Europe to wrestle and flying back to do everything on the menu, then back. So I did that 5 weeks in a row back and forth to get the program filmed, all that stuff at WWE. And man, let's say, look at me for one. I mean, it ain't a perfect fit. I didn't get 350 pounds by accident. And the premise behind the show came 23 when I had the neck injury and I had to have my neck fused. I didn't know if I was ever going to wrestle again, having any kind of normal life or whatever. We're sitting around talking ideas because I'm like, man, I still want to do stuff. I've been blessed with the gift of putting smiles on people's faces, and I'm pretty daggone good at it. So sitting around my agent, Nick, Kevin, the producer on the show, we were joking one day, talking about something. We're throwing ideas at the wall about how when I go out to eat normally, I order 2, 3, 4 entrees. One, because, well, I'm a growing boy and I'm hungry. And 2, because I like to try different foods. And that was one of the cool things with being with WWE for so long, was traveling around the world and getting to try all the different culinary walks of life and all this other stuff. So it's always what's next. It's challenging my taste buds, trying to figure things out. And I was like, man, yeah, half the time I go out to eat, I would wish I could just order everything on the menu. And we kind of went, hang on a second. Lo and behold, here we are. Season premieres Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, right after SmackDown on USA.
Can't ask for a better lead-in for that. And what a great story of how it all came together. And you know, Braun, like, when I think about pro wrestling, I always tell people, I think pro wrestling is the ultimate entertainment boot camp. You learn how to do television. You learn how to be a character. You learn how to turn it up. You get one take. You're in front of a live crowd. You're in front of a television crowd. You have to know how to juggle all these things at once. I just feel like it's perfect for guys to then make the transition into hosting a television show, because this is easy. You know how to, when the red light comes on, you already know what to do.
They definitely gave me the tools to succeed in many, many avenues in life. And that's what I talk with a lot of the young talent. Learn, listen, pay attention, because one day wrestling's going to be over, like it is for me, untimely, you know. But the tools that I'd learned because I paid attention, I took the opportunities that I was given, and I learned along the way that it's given me this opportunity to go and do other things like this. And that's what my favorite thing about this show is, other than like, wow, I have my own television show. The world has seen Braun Strowman. They know Braun Strowman. Now you're going to get Adam. And boy, oh boy, I hope y'all are ready. I always joke, if WWE ever just let me be me, ain't nobody touching me. And you're going to see that in this show. And that's just said, from me bombarding on people while they're eating at dinner, talking to them, having fun. I mean, it's got to be intimidating. Of course, you see this looming mongoloid of 6'8", 350 pound, borderline human waddling over to your table to ask you what you like and what you're eating, to being in the kitchen, goofing off with the chefs, to making drinks, buying shots for the bar, trying half the cocktails on the menu, crushing as much food as I can, talking about it and having fun. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. I've realized, like, food brings people together to the table for a conversation, for love, for laughter, for life. And boy, if I don't give you all of that and then some in this show, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you know what? And to me, the boys, you know, when you're making the towns and traveling up and down the roads, you get to see, like you said, so many different places and find the different great food cities. Like, I'm in Houston. I think Houston is one of the great food cities in the United States. But what were some of your favorite cities to stop on when you were making the towns?
Well, for me, it always special, like being able to do Milwaukee with where my family is and stuff in Wisconsin. I got to have my cousins with me at Loopy and Irish, which is in my top 3 favorite restaurants in the world now that's there. And then my goddaughter being with me. There's a scene where we're stretching cheese curds together and stuff like that. And that for me is so special because my time with WWE was so busy. It was such a blessing. Don't get me wrong. While there's many negative things that could be talked about, at the end of the day, they changed my life. They gave me this opportunity, what I learned for this, and being able to go out and do this stuff now. And man, it really, I've always just wanted to make people laugh, people smile. And I'm so blessed that I have another platform and another opportunity to continue to go out there and do what I love. And have fun with it. Because at the end of the day, man, we get one shot at this. I'm going to do as much as I can. I want to put as many smiles on people's faces. I want to do as much charity work. I want to do everything that I can. because I've been given tools that a lot of human beings haven't been given. And by gosh, I'm going to make the most out of them.
Everything is on the menu when it comes to Braun Strowman. This season premiere, we're going season 1, we're going season 2, we're going to go season 20. Let's like make this show go on forever. But let me ask you, if I can, just get a couple wrestling questions in there, because I'm such a huge fan, and I've seen your whole career. Obviously, when you won that world title in the COVID WrestleMania, it was such a awesome moment with you and Bill, and then I always wanted to ask you this moment. There's that legendary moment with you and Brock, where you kind of give Brock a little something and Brock gives it back to you. What do you remember about getting that receipt from Brock Lesnar?
I was like, why are you hitting me so hard? I didn't mean to hit you. I also like to think I'm one of the very, if not the only person that's ever took an overhand right from Brock Lesnar and not went down from it. He definitely wobbled me. He definitely wobbled me with it. It kind of made me angry because you see about 30 seconds later, I tried to rip his head off with a clothesline, and then we kind of had a little conversation like, all right, let's get back to working.
What's one of the beauties of pro wrestling? But you know what, Braun? You had a legendary career in pro wrestling. Maybe we'll see you in a squared circle again someday, but I think you found your niche with this show. I really enjoy watching it. I think everybody's going to have fun with it. Everything is on the menu. Braun, I really appreciate you for joining us this morning.
Awesome, my friend. Thank you for the time and the platform.
Yeah, Brad Gilmore with ESPN Radio. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time, man. Congrats on all the success of F1.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
You as well. Look, this film, and as I'm sure that you know, has such a unique feel to it. You make the people feel like they're a part of this experience. And I know when I talked to Jerry earlier this year, Jerry Bruckheimer, he talked about all the innovations that came with this movie. It was a complex film to put together.
Very complicated, but all in an effort to, make you feel like you're in that Formula One car, which is something that Lewis Hamilton told me at the beginning he had never quite seen. No one had ever captured what it really feels like. So that was the bar that kind of Lewis set for us, and one that, I thought about every single day.
And so what was like the biggest, if you had to say, here's was the one challenge, of course, making it feel like you're actually in the F1 car, but from a technical standpoint, what was that one big hurdle you had to leap over?
I think the biggest hurdle was the camera system that we needed to shoot this film did not exist. We had to invent it. So we spent about a year working very closely with Sony and with Apple to develop basically 2 brand new camera systems that were small and light enough, but still gave an IMAX quality image. And we integrated those cameras into the race cars that we made for this film. So it was all a huge engineering and technical exercise to really capture the experience of Brad and Damson actually driving these cars on real tracks during real race weekends. And to get it all to work in that very short window of time we had to shoot it was a huge challenge.
That's what I was going to ask you, having such a tight window. As a director, you want all the time in the world, obviously. Yep. And, that's not a luxury that we always have. But to have that tight of a window, you had to be sweating bullets just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it would be just a few minutes. And I would tell the actors, we might have 2 takes, 3 takes. There were a couple things where we only had 1 take. And whatever we got was going in the movie. So, I had a great crew and obviously an incredible cast that in those moments of extreme pressure were able to kind of deliver incredible performances.
Brad Pitt feels like a director's actor, if you know what I mean. He's kind of like, okay, what do you need me to do? Yeah. I'll go out there and get the job done. Was he obviously he's great in the film, as is everybody, but he probably was like somewhat of a dream collaborator.
He's incredible. He's an icon for a reason. He works very, very hard. It's not like he just shows up and he puts the time in. 4 months of training to learn how to drive these cars. He was involved in every script meeting, line by line, sitting with Lewis, going through every technical detail. And yeah, when it's time to call action, he was born to play Sonny Hayes, and just embodied this character, and his performance is, I'm just so proud of what he did on this film and how he worked with everyone else. He's an icon for a reason.
Yeah, and again, going back to the technical aspects of the film, which is so fascinating to me, that how y'all pulled this off and made it feel the way that you did. There's so many times where I'm sure it'd be easy to CGI and green screen, but doing things practically as a filmmaker has to be so much more satisfying to be able to see the finished product and go, we were actually there.
It is, and I truly believe the audience feels it and appreciates it. We learned that on Top Gun Maverick, where we shot, the actors in real planes. And so I believe that going to the effort of shooting at a real Grand Prix was going to be worth it. And the energy, the crowd, having the other drivers in their cars there next to us, that's something you couldn't fake.
It's awesome. Well, you know what? I'm glad that everybody's going to get to check this out on Apple TV. And if they saw it in theaters, they got a great experience. Joe, I really appreciate the time today, man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, Brad Gilmore with ESPN Radio and CW in Houston. Gobo, thank you so much for taking this time. Congratulations on this incredible special.
Hi, silly creature Brad. Good to see you, pal.
You as well. You as well. Talk to me, Gobo, about how this experience has been for you, the first snow on Fraggle Rock.
Well, you know what? It's been unexpected but magical, which some of the best things in life are like that, eh? You know what I mean? Like, we didn't think it was going to snow here in Fraggle Rock, and then it did.
But what was the reaction to everyone else? Not just yours, but what were the conversations at Fraggle Rock about all this snow?
Well, it got a little intense because, you see, we usually get snow from the ice caves every year that we get to play in. But we never had a snowfall. But usually we play in the snow from the ice caves. But there was no snow, and everyone was kind of looking forward to all the traditions that they use snow for. Like Moki wanted to make snow angels on the ground, and Red wanted to sled down the snow, and Boober wanted to cook with it, and Wembley wanted to make snow Fraggles. And then when there was no snow, everyone felt like their holiday was ruined. But then, we had the most unexpected thing happen with this snowfall, and it came when we were least expecting it, and it ended up working out. So I think that's just a nice thing to think about during the holidays, that maybe your traditions aren't exactly as they've always been, but they can still be magical,
They can be, and sometimes at the most unexpected moment, Gobo, your whole life can change. The whole holiday can change.
That's right.
In the most unexpected of ways.
Yeah. Something my friend Silly Creature Lele Pons taught me is that moments are like snowflakes. They're unique.
That's great. See, I'm from Texas, Gobo, and we don't get snow in my part, so I don't know. So if I were to come to Fraggle Rock, where it's filled with snow and a snowfall, and play in the ice caves with you, what would you advise me do? What should I do?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, you could definitely make snow Fraggles with Wembley, because he's really good at it. He could teach you his techniques. And you could probably cook with Boober. He makes candied radishes this time of year that are incredible. And one of my favorite things to do is to skate on the pond, because it freezes over, and then we use greaseberry leaves and we slide across the pond. So maybe you could come do that with us.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. Now, Gobo, this time of year is so magical. You've used that word a couple of times.
Yeah.
For people who watch and get to see what happened at Fraggle Rock,
Yeah.
What do you want people to take away from it when they see as much fun and magic as y'all have?
Well, I think hopefully people take away the fact that what makes things really the best during the holidays are being with your family and your friends, and that every one of us has something to contribute to make it the best holiday ever, And I think also the fact that even though things can change, sometimes the new traditions are just as magical as the old ones.
You know what? I couldn't have said it better myself, Gobo. What a treat it's been to talk to you. I hope I can come to Fraggle Rock and see snow for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said,
Come
in
join
Texas,
us.
it doesn't happen. I got an invite?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You're an honorary Fraggle. You're welcome anytime.
Well, I love it, Gobo. Thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on everything. Happy holidays.
Thanks, pal. We'll see you soon. Happy holidays to you.
I'm so happy to be joined by my next guest, a Houston native who is bringing a story to the spotlight that so many people need to talk about. It's a new film on Tubi called Dangerous Deceit. And one of the stars of the film, the actress and producer of the movie, is here with me, Victoria Vana. Victoria, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you so much for having me today.
No, thank you for coming in. I want to talk about this movie because this is a story that you kind of came up with. It was in your head. You wanted to shine a spotlight on something that goes on in Houston that perhaps people aren't as aware of. Tell us a little bit about the movie and the inspiration for it.
Yes. So, and also, thank you so much for having me. So basically, this storyline came to me when I was actually sitting in an Uber one time, and I felt really uncomfortable, and I was leaving, like an outing that night, and I just felt some weird energy. And to me, I feel like it happens way too often to women that we feel sexualized or just uncomfortable, and it kind of just came to my mind like, hey, it's really late at night, and this guy could do anything. So I really wanted to bring awareness to the fact that sex trafficking is a very real thing. And Houston is actually one of the top places. It's like, I think, number 2 on the charts for sex trafficking, which is really, really insane. So I just wanted women to be able to watch this film and kind of be more aware of their surroundings, or even just to have it in the back of your mind that this is a possibility, that anyone, you know, who's drinking, especially as a woman, just to be more careful, you know. And it's crazy because even after writing the script and doing this film, I've still sat in Ubers before. Originally, it was going to be called The Ride because I really came up with it sitting in the back of a ride, and was just thinking to myself how easy it is for women to be put in positions to not be safe. So I hope that if anyone watches it, that's taken, because that was predominantly the reason why I wrote the script. And then on top of it, there's just some goofy but heavy humor in it as well. So, yeah.
Well, so, okay, I'm fascinated by the point of you get this idea and it's in your head. Some people have an idea, then it comes and it goes, right? It comes and it leaves. When did you go from, here's the idea, to, I'm actually going to make this happen?
Oh, I feel like I was in the shower one day and I was like, you know what? This would be a really good film. And I started off as an actress, and I was around a lot of, you know, producers and around people that were creating their own films. So one day, you know, I was just kind of listening in, and to be completely honest with you, I was like, well, if these boys could do it, then I can do it.
Right.
So I got the idea, and someone told me, hey, like, if you can get a script and you can get an investment together, this is how you could produce a film. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to produce a film.
I mean, that's a big hustle, though. So congratulations. That's a huge hustle, because that is hard. I mean, there's so many unproduced screenplays, as you know, out in Hollywood and around the United States, around the world. So to actually have it from script to screen is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And you held many hats. So, okay, you write the screenplay, you get the funding, you decide that you're doing this movie, you go through the casting. What was the hardest part of getting this whole film together?
I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like the entire thing
It was hard.
probably took 5 years off my life. Definitely, I think the hardest part of it was just like the hours that we had to put in. We would shoot for like 18 hours. There was one day, the last scenes we were filming, that was our last day to film. Like, that was our last day in budget, and we had to get everything. So that last day is a little scary, because you know, like, you're on that ticking time clock, and like, okay, we need to get these scenes. So we actually filmed out in the middle of nowhere, in the forest. We were in a real abandoned house, and it was genuinely actually scary. Like, we after we'd finished filming, we'd all be together, because we'd be like, this is actually really scary. But I think the hardest part, per se, would just be fighting through those moments and scenes when you're exhausted, and you just... I see myself on screen sometimes, and I know, I'm like, okay, that was when I was, and you can sometimes kind of tell, like, in my eyes that I was exhausted. But yeah, I would just say keeping the energy up for everyone on the set, because everyone's tired, and you want them to keep going and to, you know, keep the energy up. So lots of coffee also.
Lots of coffee, lots of caffeine, a lot of great Houston talent in this. Jasmine Belay, John Carlton, Jonathan Carlton.
They're all amazing. Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to them all.
Yes.
I know them all very well, all talented people. And when you go through the edit, which I think is like the process of filmmaking that people don't think about as much, like the layman, because the edit is where the film comes together.
Yes.
You can have as much footage as you want to, but then when you get into that edit bay, you've got to make sure that you make those moments matter.
Right.
When you finish the edit and you screen it for the first time, after coming up with this concept in the car, saying in the shower, I'm going to make this happen, talking to a producer and saying, how can I make this happen? And then you get it there, and you're acting in it, you're producing it, you've edited it, you get to see it. What's your first reaction when you see the first cut?
So I myself didn't edit it. We actually had someone, I believe Shannon Washington edited it. But to be completely honest, you're so hard on yourself, especially it being my first film. So I still, to this day, watch it, and there's some parts I'm like, I wish, I did this differently, or I wish we did this differently. But at the same time, everything has been a learning experience for me. And I'm really excited to take all the knowledge that I've gathered and all the blood, sweat, and tears, and also things that don't work out. I love to tell people, like, because a lot of people ask me, like, were you ever scared that the film wouldn't do well? Or, of course, that's a very real thing to think. Like, what if it comes out and it's horrible and everybody is like, what is this? But at the same time, I gave myself grace with this film because it's my first one. But I don't really know what I would say the hardest part of everything was in the editing. But I think just watching it, I was proud of everyone because my actors really did such an amazing job. Jasmine's amazing.
Incredible.
She is so amazing. And I think she's on another show right now. I think it's on HBO, I want to say. But just getting to also see how good the actors translated and conveyed their parts, I was really proud and happy to see that.
How different was the film? Because I think that everything goes through stages and processes. So how different was the movie that you first pictured when you were going and pecking away at the keyboard and putting the script together than what finally came to be? Because there's so many concessions, there's so many changes that happen when you're putting a movie together like this.
So I think that, where it really, like, the first scene that came into my mind was the scene of the girls at the very end. That scene, and I was so happy about that scene because that came directly out of my mind, and it almost matched exactly what I was envisioning. So I was so happy about that. I'm sorry. What?
But the thing is, but you're saying you imagined this.
Yes.
So did it come to, like, did it all come to life the way that you pictured it? Like, did the film come together the way that you pictured it, or did it change and evolve along the way?
It definitely evolved into something else, especially collaborating with the director I worked with. He implemented a few different things in the script, and we definitely had our moments where we had our creative differences, and I was like, no, this is, because this was my baby, and I was like, no, it needs to be like this. And there was a couple times on set where sorry to everyone on set those days, but I was, fighting for that
You're
creativity.
passionate about it. Yeah.
Right. So I know Shannon was sick of me, and I was a little sick of him too, but that's okay. We fought it out. But I was really happy to see how it evolved with everyone, and everyone that acts in it puts their own little energy into it.
Sure.
So, I'm so happy about how good the actors translated. And for some of them, it was their first time acting. For some of them, they've been on Hulu series, or, like Jasmine, she's doing amazing things also. So just seeing everyone's energy come together and make the film evolve into what it was, I was really happy to see. But the very ending was still straight out of my mind. So I was really happy that I got to convey that. And that's probably my favorite scene, was the very end. And I had a very heavy hand in directing that part of it as well. I was on everyone like, no, the lighting needs to be like this. We need to come from these angles, And then shout out to Mel, Leilani, and Jasmine, and Elise Drexler. They absolutely killed that last scene.
Incredible. Incredible. The film is Dangerous Deceit. It's on Tubi. You're in the film, so many great people in it. When people watch the movie, what's the one thing you want them to take away from it?
I would like them to take away that, sex trafficking is a very real thing in Houston and in the world.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people that are around us that we might think are there to protect us, but as women, you just always need to be aware, alert, have pepper spray, have a location shared with your friend.
Sure.
And, just as a woman, always know your surroundings and know that there's some crazy people out there. And,
So be vigilant, be aware, use the buddy system, do all the things that you need to do to make sure that you stay safe. But I do encourage everybody to go check this movie out on Tubi, Dangerous Deceit. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you for having me, and sorry if I yap a lot.
No, you're good. We can do this.
I hope I stayed on point.
You did. Let's do this again sometime.
Of course. For my next film, I'll be back.
Yeah, Brad Gilmore, ESPN Radio and CW in Houston. Lotfi, Noah, thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats on the film, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
You as well. You as well. Look, I want to start Lotfi with you, Lotfi with you, because to me, writer director, I'm always fascinated by as far as what the script looked like during first draft to the draft that you took when first day of shooting. How different was that from one to the other?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. It was a long process of unpacking a few different things and approaching a few different things. There was the whole period aspect of this film, which was a brand new thing for me. There was the daunting aspect of telling this story of the Holy Family, but in an unsanitized but sincere way, with real characters in mind, so that was a long process. And then also just as far as how the story went, I mean, Satan doesn't appear in the infancy gospels, and but that was something that, as the drafts progressed, it was something it was just kind of beckoning me to have that in there as well, because it's part of the to me, it was part of the spirit of telling this apocryphal story, and filling in these missing pieces of the puzzle. Then and I also was endeavoring to have it be very realistic. I wanted like hyper real approach to the story, and so that had to do with all of our departments, and how we were planning to shoot it. And the conversations with Noah, like how we were gonna treat the character. But then it all just continues to change and evolve and devolve, so by the end of it. But I love what we ended up having by the time we went to go shoot. And Noah took took command of the role, and what he was going to do with it, and so did the other, the rest of the cast. So it is a process of, giving people their free reign as well,
Well, and that was actually an interesting point you bring up, and Noah, I'd like to ask you that. When Lotfi says giving you the free reign, and y'all had conversations about the character, and you taking ownership over your role in this film, what were those conversations like? And it sounded like y'all were able to have a collaboration if you had some ideas that you'd like to bring.
Yeah, I think that the conversation, I mean, we had many conversations, but I think that a lot of them were, at least from my perspective, first reading the script, was my passion for bringing out the sort of humanity in Jesus, and like the way he starts sort of as a human and realizes that he's divine, but still that story of how a human would deal with it. And I think as well, we were constantly talking about this idea of like the devil and Jesus of being closer together than they may seem, the light and the dark, very close together. The lighter you are, the closer you are to the shadows. And I think this idea that, that this character had a choice. He has a choice to choose the light, to choose forgiveness, to choose hope. And he has to go through this journey, a very human journey of discovering himself and discovering like what his calling is. But also with the sort of temptation of the darkness there, but deciding in the end to forgive and push through and push through to the light. And I thought it was a very human journey, in a very, like huge biblical character, but bringing it down to earth and making it raw and real and feel like it could be all of us going through this,
Oh, that's actually really interesting to bring it to the human side of it. Now, can I ask Lotfi, what did Nick Cage bring to the role? Because you talk about the conversations you had with Noah. What were the conversations with Nick? Because he's known to really bring a lot of ideas to any project that he's a part of. And I guess that's one of the reasons you want him on the project.
Yeah, yeah, he sure did, and he does do that. He's totally his own medium of actor, you know, and so there was that. It was a given, you know, when working with Nick, but he also just had like Noah, you know, we had so many conversations about the script and about where the character was coming from beforehand, and it was incredibly sincere, you know, fundamentally where he was coming from as well, you know, and I think that um it was interesting because you realize that that whole thing that Nick does, it really comes from a very earnest, you know, unironic place. And I think that it was just, you know, I think daunting for all of the actors in the film to fill the shoes of these particular roles, you know, because they're so storied and they're so weighted. But you know, I think the big thing that everyone did brilliantly was to just make it personal to them. So that was the thing.
Well, you know what? I really enjoyed this conversation. What a fascinating story and really well executed film. I enjoyed watching it, even though parts of it made me rather uncomfortable in the best of ways. So I appreciate y'all taking the time, and congrats again, guys.
Well, thanks, Brad.
Have a good day.
Y'all have a good one. ESPN Radio and CW in Houston. Liam, Lawrence, Joey, thank you so much for taking the time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I want to start right in, obviously, with going into season 4 of this show. Each of your characters evolving. Some of you we meet for the first time, and some taking on a character that's already established. When you look at the scripts of these, is there a particular line of dialogue from either your character or another character that really helps you inform your mindset about what you're doing and what you're doing in that particular scene, that character? The reason I ask is, Liam, there's a scene where you're at a campfire, and I believe the line is something like, if he's lost his love, he shouldn't be the same. And to me, even though it wasn't something your character said, it told me so much about your character. Do you all look for something like that in a script?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I was gonna say it wasn't mine.
No, it wasn't yours. No.
Nope. Every line that Joey utters as Yaskier is
Made up.
is a way. Yes, it's not only is it made up, but it's made up so brilliantly that it allows you to actually know where you should be in the story.
Incredibly informative.
Yes.
That's a lovely tag. What was it like playing Yaskia? It was very informative. Was it like working with Joey? Very informative.
Very informative. Yep. Educational too.
But you guys shared a scene, which is my favorite scene in season 4, in which you are tending to one of your.
Oh, to his wound. Yeah.
Was there any lines in that?
There's a lot of good lines in there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good exchanges in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
Geralt says "fuck" a lot, and it always feels
feels right.
Comes from a deep place.
But he's way more verbal.
There's a lot of weight behind it.
But you're way more philosophical. You're closer to the book, Geralt, in some ways than you think.
What ways? Really? How?
Yeah, you're really good looking.
Well, look, obviously y'all had fun making the show. I can see it right now. And the show is incredible to watch. You know, I just feel like, because there's so much going on and there's so many different realms and stories and things intertwining. Does it take a lot of I don't know, preparation as far as the scripting goes? Do you all take notes, copious amount of notes, or do you wait to kind of get there on the day and
We let
figure
the
out
writers
where
make
we
the
are?
notes and then give them to us, so we don't have to think about all of those things, because really they have to keep it all in their heads.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to keep aware of the fact that, you know, our particular storyline is not the only one.
Yeah.
That there's, you know, Ciri's storyline, and that there's Yennefer's storyline, and then there's the way in which they're going to braid all those things together.
Yeah.
But we have to give the credit to the writers, and all of them are really always sort of reminding us and pulling us up. We can go to them at any point and go, okay, so we're doing this over here. What's happening over there?
Yeah.
What's happening over there? Because it's a lot to try and keep track of.
You'd agree, Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I sort of made a decision at the beginning of this that I didn't, I'd look over what was happening with the rest of the storylines at some point, but I really didn't want to be too heavily involved, particularly what Siri was doing. And I really didn't want to be aware of that and just allow it to be this other thing that was happening over there, which was how we felt as actors on set, because we were constantly kind of like sliding to it, like, oh, hey, see you later. And, and then it wasn't until I'd watched the 4th season back recently that I saw all this stuff and her journey and all these things that she'd been doing. I think, you got to give credit to the writers for handling all of those different aspects of the story.
Well, congratulations, gentlemen, on season 4. I really appreciate y'all spending a little time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so
Yeah, Brad Gilmore, ESPN at CW in Houston. Claire, Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats on the show.
Thank you.
I want to start. I have like a strange connection to this show.
Okay.
All right. So when I was a kid, my neighbor robbed a bank.
Oh.
And right now I'm writing a novel about it.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah,
Okay.
So when I was watching the first episode, I go, wait, hold on now. There's a little connection.
Did you know straight away? Did you know it's him? Were you like, it's him?
Oh, I knew he robbed the bank.
No.
Absolutely.
Did you tell your parents?
Agents.
Oh,
We had
wow.
all kinds of people running through the houses.
Wow.
It was insane. It was an insane morning for me. In like summer, I was
How
like
old
12.
were you?
I was like 12.
Oh.
And you have FBI agents running through your house.
Could you smell this on him before the incident?
He had a bank robber vibe.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it was the striped shirt and the little mask and yes, and the sack over his
You know
back.
what? He was also like a senior citizen. He was like in his 70s. And
That's the
figured
time
it
to
out.
do it.
It's
you
like,
know,
why not?
When you're socioeconomically challenged.
You know, I really enjoyed this show on so many levels, and I enjoyed the interplay between your two characters. I wanted to ask, there's early on, y'all are your characters are at lunch and talking to each other, and you say to her, you have a bloodlust about you.
That wasn't scripted. That was a candid moment between myself and Claire
They
Danes.
felt natural, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I wonder, do you find that sometimes what another character says about your character is more informative than what your character is saying?
That's a great question. Yes, I think that was it was an apt description and one that I was probably very resistant to in the moment. But yes, that's something I had to confront and address and work through over the course of 8 episodes.
Yes. And the
during the entire rehearsal, she was saying, I don't agree with that line. What a stupid line he says. How untrue.
Yeah.
What did you feel when your character's introduction, when you first read his first scene? Because I mean this in the best way possible. I did not like him at all. Right? Like I did not find him
I played
appealing.
that wrong, didn't I?
But,
Yes. You mean the charm? Didn't
But I mean that in a good way, right?
Yes.
Because that was obviously was the desired
Yes.
effect. What was your read on him though in that first scene, the first scene that y'all had together in his house?
And I had a number of reactions to that because I love the fact that there was this discomfort in that moment, that there's an immediate kind of power play in him saying come up and the off-center nature of that meeting. As an actor, it kind of terrified me because I went, oh, how do you make that real and live and make it so that Claire's character wouldn't go, oh, I'm not going up there. That's ludicrous. So a number of things, but initially and far more than anything else, I was deeply intrigued by anyone who would meet someone that they admired as much in that way and reacted the way they did. So I loved it.
Yeah. It seemed to me like whenever y'all two were together, there was a certain magnetism about the scenes that was very appealing, and I felt like Abby, I don't know, almost was trying to deal with her own past and coming to resolution with it by trying to figure out his past.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Matthew did an exquisite job, and that is it's so hard to do what he did as exquisitely as he did. But anyway,
You remember that script very well.
because he has to be really charismatic and very engaging and charming and have a sense of menace, which it's difficult to braid all those things. But yes, it's the reason why I was so kind of compelled to do this project, because I love their dynamic. I hadn't quite seen one like it. and you know, they're really excited by each other, and repelled by, you know, it's just this kind of wild push-pull dynamic. But it's also like when your id or your darkest self becomes incarnate in another person, and I just thought that was kind of fascinating, but and very enjoyable to play, especially when you get to do it with this guy.
Well, as I can see, the show is fantastic. I mean, I had to binge the whole thing. I mean, really enjoyed it. Love the character, love the interplay between the two of you, and love the conversation that we had. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank
So
you.
nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good luck with the book.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll look
Yes,
forward to
enjoy
that
it.
one.
All right, Brad Gilmore, CW39 Houston. Vince, thank you so much for taking the time. Absolute pleasure to talk to you. I've been a big fan of the show since its premiere, so thank you for taking the time.
Oh, great to be with you, Brad, and great to be talking to Houston. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. Now, look, one of my favorite movies of all time is 1985's Fletch with Chevy Chase. And for years, when we would talk about this movie and who could carry the Fletch mantle, my pick was always Vince Vaughn. I feel like Vince Vaughn could nail Fletch. And now seeing Bad Monkey, I kind of feel vindicated. I feel like this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, has some connective tissue to Fletch. So my question is, when you're taking on Yancey in this role, do you look to any other outside influences for the detective story?
Gosh, I guess we're probably shaped by a lot of stuff that comes before us, but not really in so much as Carl Housen wrote such an interesting book, and Yancey's so specific, such an interesting kind of dating situation that he's in, and life situation when you meet him. He's kind of behind the eight ball, as they would say, when it comes to his job. So, you know, Bill Lawrence, who's the showrunner, as you know, did Ted Lasso, Shrinking, so many great shows. I've known him for years. So I think what I'm agreeing with is the tone is unique. Like, it's comedic, and the characters are funny, and not just my character. There's a lot of fun perspective from characters in this, but then there's a lot of crime and a lot of stakes to it as well. So it's just an interesting tone that you don't see every day.
No, you don't see it every day, and especially with Yancey, as you said, he has such a specific sense of humor where he finds a great joke in most of the time the most wrong situation and inappropriate situation, and nails it with the perfect one-liner. My question is, was a lot of that already in the script, or did you kind of adapt it, sort of what you did in Curb, of like, here's the scene, here's the story, riff as you may?
Yeah, you know, there was a good foundation of a script, but a lot of improvising is really writing. If you understand story and character and where the scene's going, you're just looking to add to that. So the spirit of the character was there, and I had great lines on the page, but Bill was definitely, you know, gave me the green light to explore stuff depending on the scene. So we definitely would add to it, and as the people got familiar with their characters, it became so much more easy to kind of play around with what was already good material.
And being able to play a character throughout multiple episodes, I feel like different than a film, you have more chance to find it and figure out the psychology of that character. Did you enjoy having that experience?
On this particular one, I did. You know, this is fun because I think one of the things that works being a Carl Housen book is having the 10-part episode, because it's a longer format to kind of explore the story. It would have felt so condensed in a 2-hour version, if you will. So I think that having that breadth, and also just the world and the other characters, you know, it's fun to take those detours, and you're following, you know, what's going on in different locations, and then obviously the heavies are the criminals and what they're doing. So the show gets to breathe, and it's kind of fun to see these different storylines fill out and then collide with each other.
And when you have a strong source material like you do for this one with the book, how much of a sense of loyalty do you feel like you have to be to what's in the pages, and how much of yourself do you look to bring to that character?
You know, that's a great question. I think, you know, it's now being told as a visual medium. I think it's why some of the voiceover being told from that character's perspective is so helpful and interesting in the piece, because there's such great written action, you know, in a novel where they're describing stuff, and this kind of allows you to set the tone in a way that Carl would. But it's its new interpretation, so you always are you know, off of the source material, but as it becomes visual and as it becomes longer with the 10-part series, you explore and kind of expand upon, but keep the DNA of what the original is.
Well, the show is fantastic. I've loved it since the beginning. I hope we see more of Yancey in the future. And thank you so much for taking the time. You're one of my all-time favorites, so this was quite the treat.
My man, what a pleasure. Great spending some time with you this morning.
All right, take care, Vince.
We'll see you down the road. Thank you.
All right, yeah, Brad Gilmore with ESPN Radio and CW. Felix Mia, thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats on the film.
Thank you.
I want to start with Elizabeth because I think it's my favorite character in the entire movie. And there's several scenes that stick out to me, but one of them in particular I wanted to ask you about. When she brings the butterfly to Victor in his lab and starts describing it, what did that scene mean to you when you read it in context of the story with Victor?
Well, that was actually the first scene that I shot of the movie. Yeah, so it was a lot of pressure, because it's a big scene to start with, and I was already feeling quite overwhelmed to be working with Guillermo and with Oscar, and so I decided that I was doing a lot of work, I guess, and that this butterfly, this that I show up with at Victor's apartment, I kind of ended up seeing. I knocked on Victor's door, and came to see that this butterfly was kind of my preparation for the scene at hand. I'd been a fan of Oscar's work, and I was really excited to work with him. So as Elizabeth, I'm knocking on that door, but it's also on some levels like Mia knocking on the door and presenting my work as an actress, and like hoping that I would be good enough and that he would like it. And so I kind of led the scene with that. That's often how I work, where there's like two layers of what's going on. I love that. So the butterfly was, that's
So
amazing how
it is amazing, isn't it? But like after.
Do you not work like that? Well,
Well, I mean, do you not work like that? Well, let me ask you, but was there a particular like line of dialogue or scene that informed you the most about the character? I think at one point you turned to Victor and I think you questioned like, whose soul inhabits the creature, which I thought was like a profound statement that I didn't even think about until your character says it. But was there a particular line of dialogue that stood out to you or scene?
It's actually that one where William asks his brother which part of this creature is actually the part that holds the soul, because there are so many people put into this creature, and the creature itself says that there are memories from different people. So, which person's soul is in that creature, and where is it, and what's actually that part that makes you human? And that's also the question for the whole film, and also for us in our lives.
Yeah, it really is. And this movie, knowing that Guillermo has spent so much time dedicated to it and working on the script and having the story in his head and it being his favorite book and all this, he brings a lot of that obviously to the film, so he has a very unique vision. How was he as a collaborator? Would you bring Mia ideas up about Elizabeth? He spoke at the press conference about how it was almost a Mary Shelley mirror for Elizabeth. Would you bring ideas and characters, and how was he as a collaborator?
He was incredibly collaborative. It was such a joy to work with him. All ideas, he didn't say no to anything that I suggested. We would try it, and sometimes it would work, and then other times it didn't, and then I would try his way and it would work. And I mean, the whole process, the building of Elizabeth, it was, he told me when we met, he only had this rough idea of who Elizabeth was going to be, and upon meeting me, he said that he got a better understanding of who she should be in the story. And so I guess he really, it was very collaborative.
It was and you would feel the same, Felix? You were able to collaborate and bring ideas to set and try things?
Absolutely, which is weird because I shot about, I don't know how many shooting days I had, but I was there all the time. But I didn't have so many days actually working. I think Mia had the same experience with just being on set every day, even if you were not shooting, just to observe Guillermo and observe this whole machine working. And you would just come up to him, even if you're not working, and ask, what if we do it like that? Oh, that's a great idea. Let me think about that. So always,
really?
Always on the move, always just thinking, showing scenes on his laptops they shot the day before, and it was really, really interesting to see how he works, even if you're not in costume, you're there as an observer. So that was really a lot of fun.
It's kind of the joy of filmmaking. You need to, kind of think singularly but act collectively, and that seems to be what y'all did on this film, and you did it brilliantly. I loved the movie. I loved all the performances in it, and I really appreciate y'all taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
You as well. Really sensational.
Thank you so much.
Brad Gilmore with ESPN and CW. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the film. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
There's particular moments with each of you that I wanted to ask about, and if you could expound upon that scene or what that scene meant.
Yeah.
Guillermo, let me start with you. There's a point where Victor wants to destroy the creature by burning down and blowing up the tower.
Yeah.
And he says to him, give me one other word. Say one other thing to let me know, to kind of give you off the hook.
Yeah.
And as he walks away, the creature says, Elizabeth, yet he still decides to
Yes.
blow up the tower. Why?
Well, because he's jealous. Any other word. There's a great scene in that Buñuel movie called Elle, where he says, tell me something you don't like about me. Surely I can improve. And the wife says, no, everything's great. Surely there's something. No, everything. I love you. Just one thing. He says, well, you are a little intolerant. Anything but that. Not the same character. But Victor, he says, he's jealous of him and Elizabeth. So if the only other word the creature knows is Elizabeth, there's a very strange phenomenon of fathers getting jealous of the sons when the fathers are in their 60s and the sons are in their 20s. And that's basically Victor and the creature. Why him? Why not me?
Wow. And you know what, though? Also, there's a moment with Victor where he chains the creature down in the dungeon, and then he comes up and sits on the stairs. And I heard y'all say that this character had no doubts. But in that moment, he almost looks like a mountain climber who just climbed Everest and completed his life's mission, and now is somewhat regretful and doubtful and doesn't know what to do next. What did that scene mean to you?
Well, that's exactly right. So that's the moment where, the emptiness suddenly comes with this idea that if I can just do this one thing, then everything will make sense. And he does the thing, and nothing makes sense. And so I remember we did that. Actually, what was in my head at that moment was the Tomorrow and Tomorrow speech from Macbeth, which is the same kind of just this nihilistic feeling that the foreboding. It's like he still has to live with himself, and that's the thing that he can't stand.
Well, Jacob, there's also a moment where the creature breaks out. He's in the forest, and he sees the deer that's sitting there, and you start to eat the berries with the deer, and then it's shot, right, kind of viciously, right in front of you.
Yep.
And the creature was appreciating life and this experience, and then also saw the deadliness of humanity at the very moment, and the evilness of humanity at times. What did that mean for you when putting the creature together, that scene in particular?
I mean, it's one of the first moments, like as a child, when you learn that the world is not designed for you. It's your shock into consciousness, and you start to learn, more about the place that you have been like shot into. It's a moment of like horrible consciousness.
There's a beautiful gesture you're doing that always gets me when you are eating and you go, and you look around like,
It's not bad.
I like this place,
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful and little. And even when we were shooting, I went, that just happened, and it was so moving.
Well, it's also the first time he experiences like an intense flavor.
Yeah.
In that he's never eaten anything that has, and those berries were actually incredibly sour. The ones that were on that tree. So there is this, and that's met with the sun coming down through the trees and the green of the thing, and this creature that's evaluating him and not hitting him with a pole. Everything's sort of perfect, and then the world happens.
What I loved about the film, the more I thought about it, and the more I listened to y'all talk about it, is the father relationship between the creature and Victor, and then even Victor's father and him. And also the fact that Victor was spending his entire life trying to create life and extend life because he saw what happened to his mother, when really the ultimate journey of peace is death.
Yeah.
And I just lost my father in June, and this movie, thank you, but this movie made me think about the peacefulness that comes at the end of the journey, and that really that is what the life sometimes is truly about.
For a Mexican, that makes a lot of sense, because we believe that the only thing urging us to live is death. And I think what is very ironic with Victor is he's so worried about preserving life and not living it.
Yes.
He's like, more life, falls down, look around, he's incapable. Which, by the way, some of us in this table have experienced with our careers, for sure.
Yeah.
You always,
You forget to live.
You forget to live looking for an answer that never arrives.
Yeah, very beautiful movie, beautiful story, beautiful performances. I really appreciate the time with each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What have you done now?
Well, I love you dearly.
Love you too.